Welcome back, my friends, to r/entitled people. Today we'll be checking out 3 stories. The first one is about OP being treated like garbage by some snobby rich people at a wedding. The second one is about OP getting a male Karen arrested, and this Karen actually turned out to be pretty sketchy and creepy. And the last one is about OP's crazy Karen neighbor trying to get their cat taken away. So let's get right into these, and as always, if you haven't yet, consider subscribing for more daily Reddit stories. This post is titled, "The Swiss Wedding from Hell." My friend is seriously wealthy. He was born in England, but moved to Switzerland in his 20s to work in his dad's aviation farm. I met him when working in Paris in 2000, and we became pretty good friends, but only really because we were in the same place at the same time. 2 young English guys in Paris. His dad is extremely demanding as a boss, and the CEO of the company. Ever seen the HBO series Succession? His family is just like that. His father plays his 3 sons off against each other. They are constantly bickering with each other and trying to get their father's validation. It's painful to watch. In 2009, he called me to tell me he was getting married to a Swiss girl. I hadn't met her, but I knew she was hard work. Back in the day of cheap flights, we used to meet up around Europe. She would constantly bombard him with messages and call the entire time to find out what he was doing. He asked me to be his best man, which I gratefully accepted. He would be getting married in some weird Gothic castle in Switzerland in January. He asked to bring my wife and daughter, and we would be seated on the top table with his parents and his brothers. I was honored, but decided not to take them. My daughter had just been born 2 months before. I really didn't want to put my wife through a wedding when she just wanted to relax at home. Besides, there would be no other kids going, and it would be 24 degrees Fahrenheit at night, or -4 Celsius, in some castle in the middle of nowhere. I informed him I would be going alone. He wasn't happy about it, but accepted it. I felt bad and said that I would do whatever to help with the wedding. Things got weird after that. I arrived at the wedding the night before and stayed with him in his apartment. His wife-to-be was just preparing to leave and stay in a hotel for the night and wouldn't even look at me. She completely ignored me as I arrived. There were really bad vibes in the apartment, like they didn't really want me there. She just sat on the sofa in the apartment glaring at me and eventually left for the hotel. I thought it was odd, but it was their wedding, so I just smiled and went along with it. We went out for a few drinks that night, and he was a little on edge. He screamed at a waiter for no reason for about 10 minutes, but apart from that, he was okay. The next day, with the hangover, we went to the castle for the wedding. I found out that I had been removed as the best man. He never told me, and his whole family just acted as if I had completely snubbed them by not bringing my wife and newborn baby, as if I had done it on purpose to ruin the wedding. I was told to help the band set up, lay the tables, and basically be on hand to help them out, which I did. As I ran around bringing in glasses and boxes of wine, all the other guests were drinking champagne in the castle. I then found out I had also been removed from the top table and put in a corner table with his work colleagues that he barely knew, and none of them spoke English. I just sat there for the whole of the 8-hour wedding in total disbelief. I actually went out and stood in the -4 Celsius night outside the castle just to take a break from sitting at the table pretending to enjoy myself. At one point, the bride came around with a guest book for everybody to sign. When one of the waiters put it in front of me, the bride snatched the book and moved it on to the next person without letting me sign it. At the end of the night, the band told me I had to help them pack up. I missed the wedding bus back to the local town and had to plead with some guests to drive me back, so I wouldn't have to walk in the freezing temperatures, which they did begrudgingly. I went straight to the airport, slept for a few hours, and got a flight home. Edit. It's a bit of a weird story, so I'll hopefully clear a few things up. He is actually friends with my wife. We also met in Paris, which is why I think he was a bit offended. His wife and family are bonkers. Very rich, very superficial. They all hate each other. His wife thinks I'm a bad influence. We used to go out drinking a lot back in the day. His dad is really hard on him, and it's really messed with his head. I did tell him about 1 week before that my wife and child wouldn't be going, after realizing that the castle was in the middle of nowhere. I helped out, like an idiot, because I actually felt guilty and wanted to look like I was helping him out, because his dad was being very critical of the organization. Now that is pretty messed up. It's like they took it as some huge insult that he didn't bring his wife. And it seems like his wife must have been the main person that they actually wanted to come to the wedding, and that OP was just kind of an afterthought or something. But even if they were a bit insulted, for them to react like that, by totally sabotaging his experience at the wedding and trying to make it as bad as possible for him, is really just messed up. Like, he actually took the time to go all the way out there in the middle of nowhere, and then even helped out the whole time too, acting like a worker instead of a guest. This actually does sound like something some snobby entitled rich people would try to pull. And this one's called, "I Got a Male Karen Arrested." This originally was a much longer story, so I did my best to shorten it up for all of you. I'm a 20-year-old female and I run a retail store with only one other person, another 20-year-old female. And some guy came in and cussed at her. Literally the first thing he said to her was F you. I took over and told the man, who was somewhere in his 50s, that we wouldn't help him if he was going to be swearing at us. He made fun of me for telling him he couldn't swear, and I just ignored him and gave him the solution to the problem he was coming in about. I watched him run outside to his truck, check his back seat multiple times, important to remember, and after about 15 to 20 minutes he came back in. He sat down and just glared at me. My coworker was helping someone else. I asked him what he needed, and he said he'd tell me after our only other customer left. I told him he could tell me now. He stood up and said, "I will leave when she leaves." I responded saying, "Listen, I've been nothing but pleasant with you your entire time of being here, and you've been incredibly hostile. I'm giving you two options. You can either talk to me right now so I can try to help you, or you can leave. Because at this point, what you're doing, sitting down and saying nothing, is loitering." He was pissed. He got right up in my face to intimidate me, and gave me the most evil look I'd ever received. I stared right back at him. "What's it going to be?" I said. He broke eye contact and said, "I'll leave." He walked out the door, but he did not leave. He sat in the front of his truck and kept looking through our window at us, waiting for our only customer to leave. I pointed this out to both my coworker and the customer, an older woman. The older woman told me to call the cops immediately, and that the man was not mentally sound. I was hesitant, but she was right. I called the cops, but in the meantime, the man kept checking his back seat over and over again. When the cops arrived, they said hi to me first, and then went outside to speak to the man. After about 5 minutes, I saw Mr. Karen trying to fight the cops. One of the cops came in later and told me the situation. "So, he's going to jail tonight. There was something in the back seat of his truck he's going to jail for. He was actually a wanted man. Are you all good here? One of us can stay here if you don't feel safe." I told him we were fine. He had me write up a witness report. Makes me wonder what was in the back of the guy's truck. That's a really good question, OP. What was in the back of his truck? Was it a body? Was it someone he kidnapped? Was it weapons? Who knows? But that does actually sound like an extremely sketchy situation. It is good that that customer suggested calling the cops because who knows what that guy was actually up to. Actually, now that I think about it, the fact that he was so adamant on waiting for just the one other customer to leave before he would even talk to them or tell them what was going on is a huge red flag that he really was up to something sketchy. You might have literally just dodged a bullet in that situation. Obviously, that's assuming the worst case scenario, but really you never know. And this next one is sort of a two-part post as OP follows up on it the next day. This is called, "So a lady was at my back gate after I lost my cat." So this happened recently, like a week ago recently. So a few days ago, my cat went missing. I was really sad because she had been here for most of my life and was basically my child at this point. Every day, I would go out and yell for her, look around the block, and leave out food in a bowl for her in case she came around and was hungry. Monday, I went out and yelled for her again, not knowing I had a new neighbor a few houses down, since they didn't have a moving van and she wasn't familiar with my situation. The following conversation went something like this. This is just a summary of the argument we had. The neighbor says, "What is all the screaming for? I'm sorry, I didn't know someone had moved here. You see, my cat went missing a few days ago." She cuts me off. "I do not appreciate all the yelling. I didn't move here with my autistic daughter for you to scream about some cat. We were told this was a quiet neighborhood, not some place where people scream in the middle of the night. I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm just looking for my cat. I can be quieter." "You'd better be quieter, or I will file a noise complaint." So after that, I kept looking around for my cat again, leaving out food and calling for her a little quieter. But even that wasn't enough for my entitled neighbor. Yesterday, there was another incident. I had been walking around the neighborhood a lot, more than usual, and my neighbor didn't like it, so she came at me again. "Excuse me, I have seen you walking around here too much. What is your problem?" "I'm sorry, I'm just looking around houses for my..." She cuts me off. "You're looking at my house? You are spying on me and my daughter?" "No, ma'am, I'm looking for my cat. She has been missing for a week or so." "I cannot believe you have been looking into homes and been very creepy around this neighborhood. I'm calling the police." Story short, she called the police. I walked off and kept looking for my cat. I found my cat a few blocks down and saw the entitled neighbor still outside waiting for me. "The police are coming for you," she yelled at me. The police never showed up. And now continuing to OP's next post. This one's called, "I just found my cat. My new entitled neighbor tried to get her taken away." So I found my cat on Wednesday and found my new crazy neighbor. I just posted here yesterday about this, but this can't be an edit for that. This is a whole new level of crazy neighbor. So today I was walking down the street with my cat on a leash. She is an outdoor cat and she likes to go on walks. I know, crazy. And we see my neighbor, now known as Entitled Neighbor, walking with her autistic daughter. We keep walking along and we cross paths with her. And my cat, being the sweetheart she is, she rubs up against Entitled Neighbor and her daughter. The daughter's cool, I like her. She bent down to pet my cat and said, "Kitty." It was adorable, but Entitled Neighbor, on the other hand, she screamed and pulled her daughter away. "Your cat just bit me," Entitled Neighbor said, even though my cat doesn't bite. There was no mark, and I saw no blood anywhere. "Get that wild animal away from me now." I respond, firstly, this is a domestic outdoor cat. Secondly, my cat has never bit anyone and is a sweetheart. Well, she bit me. I am going to file a report to the local health department, and I'm going to get your cat taken away. Ma'am, I have tried to be respectful, but my cat doesn't bite. If you did actually get bit or scratched, you should go and wash it out. This neighborhood isn't safe with that cat around. It's a devil. She made a call to the local health department and said something about a serious wild animal bite. I listened in, and once I got my info, I left. Now I'm waiting to see if the people are actually going to come and take my cat away after I just got her back. Honestly, I think they're just going to take my cat away to quarantine her if they think Entitled Neighbor did actually get bit. And this was r/Entitled People. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay beautiful. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.